Welcome to NEK VT Rocks. My guest today is Karen Rinner, who is the manager of the Eden Tasting Center bar. And she's brought props with her. I mean, right now, this is going to mean that we really have to up our game on this show because this lot's fabulous.
I wanted to share with everyone what we have at the Tasting Center, other than Eden specialty ciders.
You have so much there. How long have you been working there?
I've actually been working in the Tasting Center for about 5 years. I started at the cider house, and then I went to work with Eleanor at Eden Ciders about 4 years ago. This will be my 4th year.
Yeah, I love the Tasting Center. I mean, it's that great big space, and there's always so many different things in there.
Yes.
What do you exactly do?
I manage the tasting bar, where at this time, we will be reopening our tasting bar on Mother's Day weekend. We're able to do tastings again.
For the benefit of the clueless me, when is Mother's Day?
It'll be the weekend of May 5th.
Okay.
And that Friday, we will be reopening. And what I do at the tasting bar is I give everyone a chance to experience cider by the flight. You get a choice of 4 ciders.
Yeah.
And we are most famous for our ice ciders. And then we do sparkling and drier specialty. We call them our cellar series, which are smaller batch ciders. So we have a menu that they'll choose from, and then I go over how the cider is made, and when it is in better times, we do tours of the distillery, because everything is done right on premise, except for pressing the apples, which is done at the farm.
Right.
So I am there to answer any questions and introduce cider. So
for somebody who's never tried cider before, they'd sort of get a 101.
Exactly.
This is cider. These are the different kinds of cider. Because for anybody who's I'm going to trash another brand here, who's only ever tried that big bottle of horrible stuff that you can get at assorted supermarkets, and to assume that that's cider, it's not.
Yes, no, those type of ciders really have a lot of sugar added, and the apples come from everywhere.
Right.
We know exactly where our apples come from. We work with 6 self-sustaining orchards, and we add no sugar.
Right.
Anything that is sweet comes from residual sugars from our pressing, and then if we want something a little sweeter, you add something you've created that's sweet.
Right. I mean, I come from a culture and a country where cider is a big deal, so I was really surprised when 40 years ago I came here and nobody knew what it was.
Well, and in Britain, it's a much drier style cider. So we do make different in our cellar series. That's what our cellar series exists for.
The spectrum of
different types of cider making and cider tastes. We make still ciders, sparkling ciders. We have our canned cider, our peak bloom and deep cut. And we have a new canned rosé coming out. That will be sometime in the near future.
Is that like your rosé in a bottle, or a little
similar? Our imperial rosé is 11%.
Yeah.
And in a can, it's not going to be 11%.
Right.
And our rosé is very popular. It's included in the Mother's Day tasting kit that you can find online.
Yeah.
Right now, we're experiencing a lot of online relationships, I should say, because Eleanor is doing online virtual tastings.
How does that work?
You go to our website at Eden Specialty Ciders, and you can go in for a tasting. We also have Eden Ciders / parties, where you can have your own special group, and you choose a cider tasting kit.
Yeah.
We've created tasting kits with the new lifestyle since we couldn't have the tasting bar open.
Right.
So we ship the tasting bar to you. And then you're given a time and a date, and everyone zooms in and
Isn't it
have had a
amazing?
wonderful time. A lot of companies did it as gifts for the holiday.
Yeah.
And it has been quite successful
That's
online.
great. And I'm not the biggest fan of Zoom because I think we tend to get zoomed out and it's usually those sort of wooden faces and figures and it's really difficult to hear. But having a tasting would be fun.
Yes, and they are, and they've been quite successful. And so now we have a new one coming out, Adventures in Fruit, it's on the sweeter side of the cider.
So that's just a collection of different
It
ciders.
would be a Imperial Rosé,
Yeah.
a Honey Crisp,
Uh-huh.
100, and Peak Bloom. And they also receive Eden Tumbler.
Oh, nice. Your very own cider glass.
Mm-hmm. I brought all my props, and I didn't bring the prop for that special one. But
And how does the tasting bar fit in with the rest of the businesses that are in the tasting center?
well, some people stumble upon it by coming in for lunch
Mm-hmm.
or coming in for the bakery.
Right.
And some people stumble upon the warehouse or the candy shop or
Yeah.
the bakery because they've been coming to the destination.
Right.
Actually, with us having more of an online presence through Facebook and Instagram, and with appointments due to COVID for a tasting, it has made us more of a destination. In all reality, we're much more famous outside of
Newport.
We ship all over the world. We're preparing a pallet to ship to the UK
Right.
next week, and we just shipped one to Scotland and Asia, and
Yeah.
we ship all over the country to states where we're allowed. There's some states we're not,
Right.
and so it's nice to see that it's out around
Yeah.
all over. But cider has become almost another wine or another beer.
Right. More and more places have it on their bar menu.
Yes.
Which is nice.
And you have more people looking at specialty ciders
Yeah.
versus your commercial
Right.
mass
Yeah, one
produced.
size does not fit all. It's sort of like assuming that a particular light beer is all there is to beer.
Right. And it's also noticeable in the colors when you're looking at bottles on the shelf.
Yeah.
You know, how distinct some apples are from
Right.
others. Some have a lot more tannin in them. Some
Yeah.
are just for cider.
Yeah, that big display case that you have sort of near the tasting bar
Yes.
is lovely because of these gorgeous colors.
Yeah.
And those sort of rich ambers,
Yes.
really pretty.
And then the pretty pinks and the rosé.
Yeah.
and-
Yeah, it's very attractive.
yes.
And the warehouse is open this weekend, right?
No, the warehouse will not be open until May 5th.
Oh, everything's opening.
Yes, and Jocelyn and Cinta's is
They're still open, right?
She's doing more special orders.
Yeah.
And due to lack of traffic. But
Right.
once we're all open, she'll be more
Yeah,
back.
I mean, the lack of traffic for a business like Jocelyn's must have been brutal.
Well, for us as well, because
Yeah.
for everyone.
Right.
It's been a difficult time, but I think everyone's worked through it, and hopefully everyone stays on track, and
I hope so.
yeah, because the area could use a few more events, and
Oh, we need some fun. We are so ready for some fun. And that's one of the things that you guys in that tasting center can provide.
mhm.
I mean, the the warehouse has all the billiards tables.
And they have our cider to serve.
Right.
We have our cider. The cider is good can go with anything. It's savory, sweet.
Absolutely.
The bread. Our Brut Nature makes a fabulous mimosa. And I like to say you get your apples and your oranges with that.
Right. Exactly.
So
how does Sugar Mountain fit in with this? That's the candy store.
Sugar Mountain is owned by Frank and Michelle at Lago.
Mm-hmm.
And they
Who
moved,
own the
and who
warehouse.
also own the warehouse. And they moved the candy store off of Main Street to create some more traffic. We recently moved the candy store this last year into its own little nook, and it recently reopened and then closed for the holiday for a break right now.
And you brought this fabulous display of candies, which those of us who are in this studio are eyeballing. I'm assuming you don't plan on walking out with them.
Not all of it.
Thank you, Frank.
Michelle.
Oh, thank you, Michelle.
Yes. So, yes, and we want to bring in more traffic to the whole area.
Yeah.
But, and it has been quite nice and interesting with the appointments making for the cider tasting, how many interesting people have come safely and made a destination. I had a couple drive in 3 weeks ago and didn't make it here till 4 o'clock because they left Cambridge, Mass.
Wow.
Not realizing how far
long it took.
Newport really was.
Yeah.
But they came to us because they got our cider in Cambridge at Formaggio's Kitchen. So our cider is everywhere. And
so they drove here from Cambridge, Massachusetts, just to buy cider.
They had hoped to have a tasting, but at the time it was not legal I was unable, and they were quite understanding, but they were able to get what they wanted and take back a couple different things, and it was a store that I shopped at frequently, and it pleased me to know that they had several selections of Eden cider there.
Yeah. Wow, that's a long drive just to pick up some cider.
Well, then I asked where they were staying, and they said they were going to go home.
Yeah, because they'd probably have to deal with quarantine stuff.
Yeah, then they don't have to. They can just go right back home.
Wow, that's a long drive, and not exactly the prettiest one either.
It's not that bad.
No. But that's interesting, because you sort of don't think of things like that happening.
No. And we had talked I had talked with Phil.
Yeah.
About at the Aqua Fest.
Yes.
To possibly have a tasting bar. You know, we had talked about things like that, seeing what happens going into the future. As long as we can as long as we're allowed to
do
have it,
tastings.
and it's
so long as we're open by then.
So long as it's socially acceptable.
Yes.
Then I would love to.
That would be great. I mean, Eleanor has certainly brought cider to previous Aquafests.
Mm-hmm.
So there's already a following. So to do a tasting there would be great.
Yes. And we've also spoken with doing them on the new ship.
Yeah, the Northern Star.
The Northern Star.
That would be fabulous.
Yeah.
That would be a really nice cruise.
Yeah.
A cider tasting cruise.
Yeah, and a cider tasting cruise, periodic cider tasting cruises, and they plan on serving the cider on the Northern Star. So that's
the Northern Star is going to be a real asset to us all, because it's bringing all of the restaurants and other businesses together, and it's a fun thing for people to do.
It'll be great.
Yeah.
And people that don't have the opportunity to get out on the water, if they don't have their own boat or kayak they'll be able to take a...
Even if you have your own boat and kayak, it's really nice to sit on a boat, have
Well-
somebody else do the driving, and drink cider or whatever.
Well, I was going to say, it is much more fun to just sit and drink while you
Yeah.
drive, let someone else drive.
And particularly on one of those gorgeous summer days that we have, where the water's beautiful and everything around us is green and wonderful.
And it's just, it was like glass the other day. You could see all the reflections.
Yeah.
It was so gorgeous.
It's still a little cold in there.
Yes, I don't.
Just a little.
Just a little nippy.
Yeah. So what else are you guys planning for the summer, assuming that we're open?
Well, we are hoping that everything is open and we will be able to... We do a lot of the fall festivals and summer festivals.
Yeah.
And go through and do tastings. And once everything is open, we are planning hoping to do a few tastings in the area. I've spoken with Michelle at Lavender Essentials.
Yeah.
To possibly do a tasting there. We are right now doing a lot of production and labeling, and we've been shipping out a lot, and so right now is the time that we're going to be reopening and
Right.
getting ready. And we also have our cider club that will be coming up this summer. And
Full disclosure, I'm a member of your cider club. I love it.
And so Garrett is working on what is going to be new or coming back
Excellent.
in the cider club, because he might have some surprises up his sleeve.
The cider club, for those who don't know what it is something that you can buy cider. There are specific ciders every 3 months, but you can trade them out if that isn't one that appeals to you. And
Correct.
there's a discount if you join the
Correct.
club.
And there's different levels of cider clubs. Some folks are a 3-bottle,
Yeah.
some are 6, some are 12. And you're correct. At that time on Cider Club, you throughout the year get specials
Yeah.
offered to you, but that Cider Club order, you do get a discount with anything additional that you order.
Right.
And if it is something that you've had or you don't wish to try, we can swap it out.
Right. It's a really nice way of being able to try with other people a different kind of cider.
It is, and we send out a quite nice literature with each one.
Yes, you do.
You know, explaining the ciders, and we're always available online and by phone.
Yeah.
Some people are quite surprised when they call expecting to get a corporate, I'm like, no, it's 10 o'clock in Vermont. And
Welcome to Newport.
we can't ship there.
Yeah.
But I love working for the company, and I've learned so much. And
Yeah.
it's a small team of people, and it's like a family team,
Yeah.
and I've worked on another farm. I worked on Lazy Lady Farm making goat cheese, and now I'm making cider and doing things I just never thought I'd ever do, but enjoy.
And Lazy Lady goat cheese with cider is even better.
Is to die for.
Yeah.
She is working on a cheese with some cider at
A cider
point.
wash on it?
Yeah.
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 Are you going to, at one point you sold cheeses at the tasting center.
No, but on our website there is you can order we do have periodic cider and cheese tasting.
Nice.
And we do collaborations with different cheesemakers in Jasper Hill
Yeah.
for a cider cheese tasting. But with regard to the cider tastings, there's different levels of tastings as
Yeah.
well, just like your cider club.
Sure.
You can get, a 3-bottle tasting, a 4-bottle,
Uh-huh.
There's different levels and different styles pursuant to what your taste is.
Right.
If you are a sweeter cider or drier or...
Yeah, clearly I'm the drier
You're the
side.
dry.
It's genetic, what can I say?
You and Faye.
That's right. Exactly.
Your cider partner.
You know, that's what makes it fun. And that's really why tastings are so much fun.
They are. It gives you a chance to try a little bit of something. And it really does, it surprises me because honestly, I was never a real sweet drinker girl.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked but it is a taste that is very unique.
Yes.
It has a different texture to it.
Yep.
Takes approximately 2 years and 8 pounds of apples to create 1 bottle of iced cider.
Isn't that amazing?
And we were the first iced cidery, but it's quite pleasing when someone tries something that they were just so adamant that they would not like.
Right.
And they do.
Right.
I have a friend that did not like cider, but saw, one of my Cellar Series bottles and wanted a glass of wine.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, oh, sure. Obviously not read the label because it said Eden Ciders.
Right.
He just saw the bottle and had a sip and said, this is really good wine. I said, it's cider. And he said, no way. And I'm like, way.
Yeah.
So it's different. And you can...
Yeah, cider is not fizzy apple juice.
No. And our rosé, someone thought it would be like a rosé wine. And
no.
when they tasted it, they found it to be quite pleasing. And then once they found out it was 11%, that was over. It was no longer the rosé, it was their 11%.
It was a liqueur.
Yeah, so Garrett and Eleanor and Albert, Eleanor and Albert created Eden Specialty Ciders, and Garrett works with them to create our ciders, and they just do an amazing, and Benjamin, our orchard manager. I think you really enjoyed Benjamin. That is one of the drier.
I did. It's delicious.
And the Benjamin 2020 just came out with your latest cider club.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Yeah. Do you, and again, this will be post-COVID, will you do tours of the cidery again?
Again, that'll be by appointment once we are free of the restrictions.
Yeah. I know. That's what we all keep saying, free of the restrictions someday. But having said that, it's really interesting because I had no clue what went into all of the making of cider. And I've been in wineries and distilleries and breweries, but it was different again. The
amount of times a pair of our hands touch each bottle is mind-boggling for some. The Brut Nature is made the champagne style, so it's flipped and stored, and then it has to be reopened, disgorged, filled, polished, labeled.
It's incredibly labor-intensive.
And it creates an artisanal, great product, but and you have to be careful because the way we make things, if those apples aren't available, he doesn't do a easy sidetrack. We might not be able to have that cider for a couple years if, say, there's a bad year of an apple that we use. It's not something that is easily compensated for, but they know their heirlooms and they know where their apples and what to do with them.
Right. Eleanor was on the show a while ago, and we were talking about the hunting down of apples and how hard that is. Because it may be a good year, it may not be a good year, or it's a good year for Honey Crisps and a terrible year for apple pippins. And
a few years ago, it was a very bad year. We had a couple bad years for Northern Spy.
Yeah.
Which is your Guinevere's Pearls and Northern Spy Ice Cider. So, and all of those take a long time to make, so a couple years, and if you don't have the apples for 2 years, there's 4 years without that one.
Yeah, and apples are even harder to pick than grapes.
Well, and we had a cellar series of the ice ciders, made the true pressing of a frozen apple. It was called Pomme de Glace.
Yeah.
And it had a very special taste. But in order to press the apples frozen from the tree, they have to be picked.
Yes.
Frozen from the tree. And it's far too difficult in this area to get enough to do it with that method. It was it was a small batch of cider, and very labor intensive, because we pick our apples during harvest season and keep them in climate control until freezing temperatures to create our ice cider and our sweetness.
The good thing about that is you will always be a niche market, and mass production isn't possible because of how specialized it is. It's like wine. I mean, the really good wines are so specialized that you don't expect to just pick them up anywhere.
No, and that's why there's only so many bottles of some things made, because where some other companies may get apples from just about anywhere, we use heirloom apples and specialty, and signature apples that are some are very difficult. And it might be just one time we use that apple, but we wanted to try that method or that. For like our Cinderella Slipper is a still very dry cider.
Yes, it's delicious.
And that is, and I had another British couple come in and wholeheartedly felt the same way. And I said, well, this one I think would be for you.
And it was.
And it was.
Right.
So it's been interesting to find the different cultures of cider, because cider in Europe has just, and it was here too for a long time until they prohibition and whatnot.
Which was such a joke. The number of people who had stills.
Yes.
But it's harder to have apples in stills than it was so many other things.
Yes.
So.
And Garrett's been doing some interesting things with our cider, so looking forward to what comes with new things.
Yeah. Do you ever think of giving classes on cider making? I mean, a lot of people who enjoy cider would have fun making a small amount for themselves.
When Garrett has done some consulting, but when we have more time, that's something that Garrett and Ben have, talked about.
That would be great.
Something out at the farm or showing some, there's always room for growth.
Yes.
But we're finding our way through this new shipping method and looking forward to getting back to the tasting bar and seeing people and
when we're finally done with COVID.
So, but it's coming up.
I hope so.
Yes.
I really hope so. We're all ready for this, and we're ready for the businesses on Main Street to flourish again.
Yes. And it'll be nice when more open soon and get more traffic.
It'll be really important.
Yes.
It'd be nice if some more businesses came into the tasting center too.
It is, and we're working on some renovations and some plans with that as well.
It would be great.
Yeah.
Pickles, selling pickles. For a while you guys made pickles and they were delicious.
Well, we still do. Jocelyn will be getting a new shipment. Jocelyn and Cinta's Bake Shop do sell fresh canned goods, dilly beans, fresh pickles, and jams. You can find some of those at her shop now, and with the new season, she gets a new batch of everything.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we are about out of time.
Well, I want to thank you for having me.
It's great, and I really hope that we can all start walking through your doors. May 4th? May the 5th?
May 5th, Friday.
May 5th. Friday, May the 5th.
Yes. And you can go to edenciders.com and make an appointment for a reservation.
Yeah.
Or you can call 33802-334-4241.
So we should start making reservations to come in on May the 5th.
Yes.
And eat too.
For Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I will be doing the tastings. And anyone doing a tasting that weekend, we are going to be having a drawing. So there will be a gift basket after the holiday for anyone that came in for a tasting over the weekend.
I hope you're going to put out some publicity.
And it will include a gift certificate from Sugar Mountain and Jocelyn and Cinta's Bake Shop.
Sounds great.
And a little something from Eden Cider.
Even nicer.
Yes.
So we're going to end the show, and then I'm coming across there, and my fingers are going to go into those chocolates
Okay.
that have been tempting me. And I will bet that anybody behind the scenes right now is also about to converge on you.
Okay.
But thank you so much for coming and for bringing all this great stuff.